Welcome to the Honest Art Podcast. I'm your host, Jody King. As an artist for 20 years, instructor, speaker, author, and fellow rebel, I've worked with thousands of people around the world, from beginners to established artists, helping them create their strongest art and build a career doing what they love. So if you are ready to have a little fun while you learn about art, creativity, building a thriving art business, and living a bold, audacious life, you are in the right place. Also, if you're considering going pro in your art business, grab the PDF in the show notes on the 5 things they don't teach you in art school. All right, let's get messy. Welcome back to the Honest Art Podcast. I am Jody King, and I've got a treat for you. I was just speaking with my guest that I just can't wait. Anyway, I was just speaking with my guest, and I was telling her that my intention around having artists on the podcast is that you as an artist, or maybe you're just thinking about an artist or being an artist, or maybe you're just creative, or maybe you don't give a shit about anything like that, but I want you to feel inspired by by my guests, and I absolutely know you will be inspired by my guest, Meribeth Privett. Meribeth is a badass artist. Oh, I can't wait for you guys to hear this conversation. And the thing about Meribeth is she has a powerful presence that it's palpable to everyone that she comes in contact with. But it's soft. Meribeth is strong and soft all at the same time. So welcome, Meribeth Privett.
Thank you for having me, Jody. I'm really excited to be here with you.
Thank you. And for those of you who are listening to this um, on Spotify or just audio, I want to encourage you also to go to YouTube, because you're going to want to see some of the art that is behind Meribeth and just see her in general. So I'm going to introduce you like the formal introduction before we get into like our casual conversation.
Because
But
we love cash.
we
love
love
casual.
cash for
Yes.
sure. And we may go off the rails, and that's okay too.
Yeah.
But Meribeth Privett is an intuitive artist who fell in love with abstract expressionism in Houston, Texas, where she currently lives. Her art is a collaboration, bringing spirit and matter into one. And y'all, that's no joke with Meribeth. She channels her passion for transformation and personal growth into the canvas, which brings beauty and healing and inspiration into the experience of our everyday spaces. So that's kind of the fancy version. The non-fancy version is you are one powerful motherfucker.
As are you, Jody. As are you. And thank you. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. So Meribeth, tell us. I know a little bit about your journey, but as I recall, your childhood, I don't recall that you started into this path as a child, but I could be wrong. Can you just tell us a little bit, about your creativity as a child? Whether did you feel like it was there? Did you start at an early age? Was it later? Just kind of give us an overview.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I was always creative as a child, but I didn't really view it as artistic, if that makes sense. It was just me being myself. And so I took dance, from 3 until like my junior year. So I always used my body to express. And collaging was something I took to naturally. I did it a lot when I was grounded, right? Like in high school or junior high.
You know what? When you said I did it a lot when I was grounded,
Yeah.
now I'm thinking about grounding ourselves, and because you
Mm.
do so much woo shit, I was like, oh, and then I'm like, oh no, she was actually grounded.
I was a rebellious child. Yes, I had a free spirit at an early age, and so then I really just went and did life, and creativity took a back seat. And it wasn't until 2008 that I picked up paints again, and I painted something that I even have hanging in my home today. It's a figurative piece, and I really liked it. And a dear friend of mine, Sarah P. from New Orleans, going to give her a shout out. She was the first person who told me I was an artist. And she said, Maribeth, you're an artist. And I was like, thought it was silly, or I had just never had anyone reflect that back to me. And
Yeah.
now I realize that the imprint happened then, right?
Yeah.
The inner artist in me recognized that validation of someone else seeing me in that light. And so
And
it
what
was,
was that? Can I just stop right there because
please.
I love that. I often talk about what we do, artists. What we do is so important because we validate the human experience through our art, whether that's through painting or whether it's through music or writing, whatever that might be. And what I just heard you say is somebody validated who you were as an artist. But did that feel like, no, not me? I mean, did it feel like that really resonated, or were you like, yeah, no, no, I don't think so?
In that moment in 2008, it didn't, but there was a glimpse of something, of a part in me that did. It was a remembering, Jody.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it, I even feel like emotional, kind of like talking about it now. And you did the same thing for me, right? And Sarah is an artist. So it's like an artist recognizes another artist and in their creativity. And it wasn't until 2016, I had been in school, just wrapped up on my prereqs for nursing, was about to pull all the, stops there and dive into that. And I had this whispering that I didn't want to work in a hospital, that this isn't what I actually want to do, but I had involved so much of my time and energy in getting to this goal. And then the short of the long of it is my husband's grandmother, she said, "You're not a nurse, you're an artist." And it hit me so hard. I canceled my day. I went and got in bed and was like, what the fuck now? Right? It
Okay,
hit
this
me
is going
so
to
hard.
be so. I think so many people are going to be, be able to relate to this. Like, we do the things we think we are supposed to do
Yes,
until we
truth.
realize that's not me. But
Right.
to change that is the hardest thing.
Indeed.
So, like, to give up who we believe we're supposed to be to try to become who we think possibly, maybe we might kind of sort of be, that puts us in the bed. Like,
Exactly. Yes. But then it also catapulted me into the fourth dimension. I mean, because once I made the choice, that's not what I want to do. Enrolled in fundamental classes. I submerged myself in art communities. Didn't feel like I was even creating. I even did, a sat for artists just to be surrounded in the creative energy. And then I randomly came across a workshop of yours, a painting workshop, and it was so synchronistic. And I wasn't really closely following you at that time yet.
yeah.
And you had just launched it. I mean, like within minutes, and I was like, boom, 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 done. And I just signed up for it. And I remember pulling up and seeing you with your paint, your signature paint clothes on, and you were just so welcoming. And my life has not been the same since.
Oh,
Yeah,
well,
the doors just opened wide open, and I walked through them.
you did in a big way. I still remember
Thank
meeting
you.
you as well. And that first, workshop, the painting workshop that we did. And I was blown away at your colors. I still am. The way you choose color and the way you work with color in your paintings it's very signature Meribeth Privett for
Thank you.
sure. Yeah, it's really quite remarkable. Um you have an ability to I don't know channel it. I don't know if channel is the right word, but maybe trust. You have an
Mm.
ability to trust the your next move and the way you choose and the colors that you choose. Trust in a way where at least when I've witnessed you in and now we've done a couple of painting workshops together,
Yeah.
um you're not looking left and right to see what other, you're in your space, you're doing your
Mhm.
thing, and you're trusting that. And that's really hard for a lot of us as artists to just trust that what we are doing is right for us. You do that
You
really
know, thank you, Jody. And you bring up a really good point because I think that was what stifled me as a child in even trying to express myself in some traditional art form was through comparing,
Yeah.
right? I saw other artists that seemed to just have this natural ability, and I just didn't have the support and the container for me to explore my natural abilities. It wasn't anyone's fault, it's just how it
Yeah.
played out. And now I know ultimately it was what needed to play out for me to have this soul journey that I've had through becoming an artist. So I needed that struggle,
Yeah.
right? Like I had to overcome this limiting belief that artistry and doing art professionally is for other people. I just support the arts. I just love the arts, right? That was my belief. And you helped me rewrite that belief. And let me tell you, I'm here to sit all the way down in this seat, right? I'm
I
here to sit all
love
the way down in this seat
I
because
love it.
I can't get enough of it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
okay, so you said that, that there's one thing to claim, to appreciate artistry. There's another next level to say I'm a professional. I'm going to do this as a profession. So
Yeah.
walk us through that. Like, when did you claim that? And yeah, tell us about that.
Yeah, I started this journey of aligning who I am with what I do back in 2016, right? I realized this is not who I am. And so it was like a fresh canvas, really. And there was an unfolding, and there's so much richness that has happened within all of that. But becoming an artist really has helped me integrate with who I am as a human being. And because my
Wait,
first
wait,
and
wait.
foremost,
That is just a mic drop.
yeah, it's significant.
Becoming who I am. So can you just say that again?
Sure, aligning who I am with what I do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But it
and that
but becoming an artist has changed who you are as a human being.
it 100%.
Oh my god. So
Yes.
true. It is so true, isn't
I
it?
know you get it. Yeah, I know every artist out there listening to this podcast right now gets it. It
Yes.
changes us. It works on us. We think we're doing all these things, but don't kid yourself for 1 second if we are not in service to something bigger than us producing beautiful works of art. It this, I feel like to your question of when did I decide to make this a profession, because I was devoted to this journey of aligning myself. Once I remembered this aspect of myself and claimed myself as an artist, for me to not move forward, for me to not see this through, would be doing myself a disservice. It would be untruthful. So it's almost feels like it picked me. Is how it feels, even though I know that ultimately everything that happens in our life, well, I guess I shouldn't say everything, but most things, I mean, we have to choose. We have to make our choice of where we're going to pour our energy and our efforts into.
So, Maribeth, can you talk a little bit more, just to elaborate, because I wholeheartedly agree with you about, you said make no mistake, we are in service with our art. Can you talk a little bit about what that means?
Yeah, I could, to me, we have our work that we do, that we pay our bills, and we're really, for those of us who are fortunate enough to have found something that aligns with who we are, we actually get a lot of pleasure from it, but it's still our work,
Yeah.
right? And then we have our life's work. And maybe not all artists feel like this is part of their life's work, but for me, it definitely does. And if you visually can envision like a weather map, and we have these fronts moving in, that's how I visually see it, right?
Yeah. I've heard this, and I'm sure you've heard this too, Maribeth, is that no artist creates alone.
Right.
That
I
we
haven't heard
are,
that, but I love it.
I love that too.
Me
And
too.
it talks it speaks to the idea that we are the faucet, but we're not the
Yes,
water.
precisely.
And that's what I think you do so well, is you allow you to the water to flow, like water spirit, whatever that might be,
Yeah,
to flow so freely through you, and it ends up energetically, because how could it not, it ends up in
right.
your work and in your art. And you said, let me see if I can find this. When we choose to live with a piece of art, we form a relationship with the artwork, and by expression, with the artists themselves. And I love this because,
Mm,
as you know, you've been through my painting workshops, you've been through my business programs, you've been through Studio Elite, and I talk about all the time there are millions of artists out there. Um, but the collector, when they're choosing their art, they are going to want to connect with the artist as well. Maybe not 100% of the time, but so much of the time they will look at a piece of art, whether it's online or it's in an art gallery or it's in somebody's home or wherever it might be. They will connect with that, and one of the questions that usually comes out of the mouth is, who did this?
mhm,
Who's the artist? Right? Who
mhm.
painted this? And they want to know about the artists. And so the artist's journey, your journey, is it's fascinating. So one thing that I think you and I have in common that a lot of artists do not, and that is totally okay, is um it's like go big or go home.
Yeah, yes. I
Uh,
need space.
yes,
This
you're
energy needs space.
yes, your art is big. The way you live
Mhm.
full, at least from my experience of you. It appears like you're like, listen, I've got this one, precious life. I'm going to live it in the fullness of who I am. My art is going to be in the fullness of what it can be. And I'm not here to play small.
That's right.
I mean, I love that about you. I love
Thank
that
you.
you are not willing to play small.
Well,
Um,
Jody, if I may speak to that, that has been a journey for sure. I don't think that I've always been that way. That has definitely been a journey of mine, and why it's important that I want to mention this is to anyone else out there, right, who struggles with playing yourself small or feel like you minimize your gifts or what you have to offer. I think every human being can relate to that. I think it's just part of our condition, and it serves us because it's calling up our higher self, it to rise to that occasion, and that's how we gain strength and fortitude and get to know ourselves and believe in ourselves. And so you know being bullied, right, being having those experiences that so many of us can relate to, left an imprint on me. And getting over what other people think is challenging, and it's shadow work, right? Like
oh
that
my
is shadow
gosh.
work.
Marybeth, if I could count the number of people that or artists that I work with that I say, post your art, be
Right.
yourself, be authentic, you know, and they just said they are just so scared of, what people think. What will people think?
And it's understandable and it's really
Mhm.
common, but it's not going to serve us and it's not going to serve anyone else, withholding ourselves. And so that is just another gift that this journey, in tandem with your art business mentorship, right? Because it's not just that first time I posted a painting online, which sold, which was my first painting that sold. And I was like, oh,
Fuck
if I put,
yeah.
yeah, that was my experience. And so I needed that nudge, right? And some guidance to say, if you're going to make art, people need to know what art you have and they want to know more about you. And that in itself felt like an invitation to share myself. And so through that journey of having to put myself out there as an artist, um, frankly, it's just taught me to not give a fuck as much. And, and I'm grateful for that. And it definitely creeps back in. Again, I think it's the human condition, but it wasn't always that way. And so I guess I share that if you think that you're someone who can't overcome that, think again, right?
Absolutely.
Think again. You're not born confident. We have to pull down and get courage. We have to pull down and get bravery. We have to pull down and dig deep and pull out these parts of ourselves that are screaming to be shared with the world, right?
Yeah.
And there's something in our individual journey as a human being when parts of ourselves are witnessed, that's all that needed to happen in order for things to heal.
Mm. That's so true.
Yeah.
And I think we are afraid of being seen, of being witnessed. And that's why I talk all the time, and you know this, about what it takes to be an artist. It's and why I'm so passionate about working with artists is because it takes so much courage for us to turn ourselves inside out to be seen, to
Yes.
put that on a canvas, to put it in music, to put it in writing, to put it in dance, whatever it might be. To be an artist takes so much courage, but uh, we because we're so important because of that. But when we do it, when we exercise that courage, we're never the same again. You can't put the genie back in the bottle.
We're changed.
Totally,
We're
totally
changed.
changed. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, can we talk a little bit about business? A
Let's
little
talk
bit
biz.
about the business. We first met because you took the, some painting stuff with me.
Mhm.
And then you went on to do some business stuff, and then you took the ginormous leap to do Studio Elite. I know that
Mhm.
this is my highest touch program. It's not an inexpensive program. We work very closely together, but that's a scary thing. I remember when I made an investment in a program similar to mine, and um, my hand was shaking when I swiped my credit card. And what I realized is that I'm investing in me. Yes, I'm investing in the person. I have to believe in the person I'm going to work with, but I'm investing in me. Um, what did that take for you? What was it like for you to decide to work with me at that level?
A full body yes.
It was. I did
Yeah.
not expect you to say that.
A full body yes. I mean, it was what it felt like when I spontaneously signed up for that first painting workshop. It was, we're in COVID, we're in lockdown, and then you mentioned this art biz mentorship, and it was another full body yes. And I'm looking at, like the cost, and I'm like, it's still a full body yes. And then which was amazing for me to have that during COVID to focus. I feel like that was such a healthy distraction and a really useful place for me to funnel my energy that I had. And then I went on when you launched your Studio Elite. I went on to take that, and it was well worth the money. And not only do you gain knowledge and information, support, accountability, but community.
Yeah.
And that's so important for artists. We're in our studios all day alone,
Yeah.
generally, unless you share a studio with someone, and we're just in our vortex. We're in the zone, we're painting, and just to have a community of people that you can send a picture to. Hey, what do you see on this? What is not working? I feel blocked. What is happening?
Yeah.
It's definitely useful. But I feel pretty confident in saying that I don't believe I would be where I am today in my art career if it wouldn't have been for your art business mentorships. And I say that wholeheartedly.
Thank you.
Yes.
Oh,
I am,
Maribeth, I appreciate
yes.
that.
Hmm.
It's been so wonderful to watch you soar and to do the things that you're doing. Can you talk a little bit about what you're doing? Like
Yeah.
what? Because when I first
Like
met
on what
you,
front? Like,
I know. It's like you can't say everything you're doing.
right.
um, but no, when I first met you, you were just really starting to paint. Now it feels like you are literally building a whole ass business. Like,
Yes.
it's like, tell us what that looks like. So there are artists that are listening to this that are like,
Mhm.
wait, I just started painting a couple years ago. I could never be where she is. Just tell us what your art business looks like right now. And I know we didn't talk about this
Yeah.
before, so maybe it would be helpful to just talk about what your day looks like. Talk about
Yeah.
how you go about generating sales, because you, I'll let you talk about this a little bit more, but you quit a whole ass career
I did.
to do this. So
Yes.
walk us through this.
Sure. I'll try to keep it, condensed a little bit, but I was an esthetician for 14 years, almost 14 years, and had a great career with that. Ended up opening my own business and doing that independently. It was a business I just didn't really have to nurture that much anymore. I had my book of business. It was easy money, and I loved my clients. I mean, I'd seen some of their kids like go through junior high, high school, and then getting married. So it was hard to leave. And then I started another business of life coaching and energy medicine before I met you. And now I realize the divine timing in all of this. And so then I started painting and everything just took off. And then I was selling after I sold my first painting, I just kept selling a painting a month. It was like a steady every month I sold a painting, and so that became my kind of benchmark. If I can just sell a painting a month, I'm really content and happy with that. And I just kept trucking along. I'm an esthetician. I'm loving on people's faces, making them glow from the inside out, and I make art on the side. But the universe has just kind of redirected that in a different way. And I spoke to it earlier that I resonated with my full truth through this process. So it just kept calling me. I mean, waking me up out of my sleep, wanting to paint, but then I'd have to go to my other job, when I felt like I needed to be painting that day. And, what we say no to, we say yes to something else. And what we say yes to, we're saying no to something else. And so I had to say no to my aesthetics career because, again, that full body yes, my art career felt like that is what I was meant to be doing in this chapter of my life. I see myself doing it into old age.
Yes.
And so that was a really big, bold move because I kept that safety net there for years of juggling all the things. And I realized that for me to take my career as an artist to the next level, I need to pour every ounce of myself into this.
Right.
And my studio and my coaching practice is in the same space. And at first I thought, well, this is disjointed and kind of weird. No,
Yeah.
it all serves, it's all energy, it's all creativity. The energy healing, the coaching, the painting, it all works in tandem together.
Yeah.
And so, I thought that I had to just pick one thing, and then I was like, screw that. I do all three. This is what
Yeah.
I do. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm a Gemini. I'm an octopus. I like to have my hands in different things, but it's felt really, really good to consolidate my life and to just, yeah, really, really claim this new
Yeah.
identity, I guess. And that's kind of dangerous. I try to stay away from identities, but there's no way, right? It's what our ego does. It just you drop one identity and it searches for the next
Right.
one, and that's
Right.
just what we do. Yeah.
Right. And you, I see, for those, we're going to put your Instagram handle in for sure in the show notes because people are going to want to follow you. I love seeing your work. I love the work that you post. I love
Thank
how you
you.
incorporate all of the things that you do. I, of course, love it when I see another painting sold, another painting sold, another painting sold. So that absolutely delights me. Um, what does a day look like for you?
Yep. So I have set hours. I go into my studio like 9 to 5, like I'm going to any job. And so I have certain days that I coach on and certain days that I paint. And no matter what, I'm in there. And I'm usually an early riser. I wake up somewhere between 4:30 and 6:30 every day. I spend about 2 hours in meditation, journaling, reflection every morning. It works out because I wake up so early. The world's not really going yet. And then I head to my studio. And, you taught me that maybe I don't feel creative that day, or maybe it's just not working. Get into your studio regardless, organize your
Mhm.
studio, work on something different, do admin, like order paint, something, just every day show up and work on my craft. Um, and then exercise, fitness is a huge element in my life. It keeps my mental health in check.
Yep.
So I'm obsessed with spin.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you get to shake and wiggle on a bike to fun music. So I mean, it's just so fun. I know that you cycle. You're more of an outdoor cycler,
I
but
do, but I still shake and wiggle on my bike.
yes, yes, yes. And so
Okay, so what has been the biggest challenge for you as an artist?
well, we kind of touched on this earlier. I mean, it's putting myself out there. That was absolutely terrifying in the beginning. And it's not so much today, but I am an introvert. When I'm around people that I'm comfortable with, I'm very gregarious. I'm very outgoing, but I'm sensitive like most artists. And on those days that I just feel like cocooning and being within myself and not seeing any humans,
Yeah,
it's hard to do, and maybe that lasts a couple weeks,
yeah.
for me. Maybe I would need to cocoon for a couple weeks, but, if I do not nurture that relationship with social media, it shows in
Mhm.
my sales, and so that has been the proof is in the pudding.
Yep.
So
I
I
talk
have
about
to
this all the
continue,
time.
and you're right on it, Jody. You're right on it. It's been my experience. So I have to put myself out there. And so I would say that's probably the biggest challenge in just staying committed to that,
Right.
right? It's gotten so much easier, and it's actually become a lot more fun and creative. It's not that big of, of a deal as it used to be, but um, you know, I'm also a private person in a lot of ways, which uh, you know, deciding what to share and what not to share. I mean, we have that right, and everything isn't meant to be shared with the world. Some things are meant to be held sacred, and that's okay. That doesn't mean we're not being authentic if we're
Yeah.
not sharing every detail about our life. And sometimes that can be hard to know, what am I comfortable with sharing and what am I not.
I'm so glad you
So
brought this up because that's something that I hear from a lot of artists. It's like, well, no, I'm an introvert. I'm an introvert. We're both
right.
like, and
Yeah.
I also, you brought up community with Studio Elite. Um,
Mhm.
Weirdly, community is like one of the best parts of it, but so many artists are introverts, and so they will hesitate to join because they we are in community. They're like, no, no,
Right.
no, I'm an
Mm.
introvert. I want to do this by myself. I'm scared. I don't want to show my art to people. I don't like it's like that element of I don't want how much do I have to share of myself? How much how much of this has to happen for me to be successful? And I love that you're saying you do what you are comfortable with and it can
Right.
still be authentic.
And evolve.
Yeah.
Start where you're at is kind of my philosophy, right? Like today where I'm at and what I'm comfortable sharing may look very, very different a year from now. And I mean, I don't know what direction that's going to go in. It doesn't really matter, just as long as I'm honoring my truth and I'm staying authentic to what feels right for me, then I'm golden. I'm good.
Yeah.
And just maintaining a thick skin, right?
Yeah.
Because when we do, I think that's a big part of why people are scared to put their stuff out there, because the internet can be unforgiving and it can be very opinionated, and you know
Can I just be real honest though?
yeah,
I very rarely get any shade.
it's been very rarely for me as well, but I think it's a stigma. People are
Mhm.
scared of the trolls, and everybody gets that,
Oh
but
yeah, I definitely get it. I think it
this
goes back
is
to what you said, thick skin, right?
yeah, well, I mean, and this is my thing. We've already put our art out there, and art is going to be judged. It is
Yeah.
designed to be judged. We all do it. We look at it, even critiquing it. I mean, we judge the art, and so we're already taking this big step by putting our art out there. Just extend your art. one step further, right? And that's kind of how I'm greeting social media and building my business, as it's just an extension of my art, just like my life, just the way I dress myself, the way I move, the way
Yeah.
I worship, the way that I express,
Yeah.
it's all the same.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
just as long as it's true.
So I'm gonna ask you a, a question that's been left by a
Oh
previous
yeah.
artist in just a second. But before I do that, I just out of curiosity, what do you see? What are your big dreams for Meribeth Privett and your art business?
Oh man, some things I'm going to hold sacred
I
because I'm working
know.
on some stuff,
Okay.
and I've learned that needs time to gestate, and that it feels better in my body when I talk about it once it's done versus when it's, or like the hope
Too
of it
soon.
happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, too soon. Um, but I mean, I'm here for it all. I've taken your suggestions on, we need other residual modes of income. So I've got some creative projects going on with that, and I'm really excited about it. Some collaborations that
Yes.
are going to be happening. So keep an eye out for that kind of fun stuff. Um, but I mean, I'm an open channel
Yeah.
here. Whatever the universe, any life changing, positive opportunities the world wants to send me, if it feels right for me, I'm leaning into them. So
I love it. And
the sky's the limit.
I know you sell your work. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No.
I know you sell your work through your studio space, right?
Yes,
How else can people see your work? Well, you also work with interior designers, I believe.
I
Still,
do.
yep.
Yes, yes,
And you sell your art online. So
I
I'm
do.
I'm bringing this up because, like you said, I often talk about how various revenue streams, how various ways for you to sell your art, and I think you do
Yes.
this so beautifully. So that's why
Thank you.
I'm asking about it.
Yeah, majority of my sales are direct,
Mhm.
where the collector reaches out to me, and it's a direct sale. But I also have, e-commerce on my website, so you can check it out there. But I sell majority of my paintings through Instagram. I mean,
Isn't that
it's
crazy?
I sold my first painting on Instagram, and I just put it out there and I share, and things happen, and I'm here to do my 50%, right, of
I
it.
love
And
it.
so yeah, you can find my work there.
Amazing. All right, you sweet thing.
Mhm.
Sorry, that's such a Southern thing. You
That's
powerful thing,
okay.
you.
That's okay.
All right. So the tradition here on the Honest Art podcast is we have a previous guest ask a question for the next guest. They don't know who the guest is going to be. But here's the question that the previous guest asked: how do you break through creative blocks?
Yeah, a bold action. That is how I typically maneuver around and through creative blocks. It's either going to be bold movement. I mean, I dance for my painting. There's some weird stuff that goes on. I'm drumming, I'm rattling. I mean, there's different elements that help me connect
Yeah.
and rearrange my energy to where it feels more in flow. And that could also look like making a bold mark. There is something that I recently had a piece that was a intuitive commission, and I loved the painting. But it wasn't done. It was still in process, and I had to honor that. And I was too attached to so many things, and the
Oh my
only
God. The
thing that was going
attachment. Can we just take a
uh,
minute for when we become so attached to that place and it's,
suffering.
oh,
It creates creative suffering,
it
Jody.
does. It
The
absolutely,
attachment to it.
ah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And so, a big movement, I mean, a sacrificial mark typically is going to have to go into that. Yeah, some type of sacrificial mark to move me out of it. And then, also, I go to this, and we know, I mean, the name of your podcast is Honest Art Podcast. But my mantra, when maybe I'm a little nervous about making that bold mark, because I'm like, this is gonna be good or bad. Like, I
Yeah,
don't know. Like, something's it's gonna move left or right here. It's like, as long as it's honest, that's all that matters. As long
100%.
as it's honest, that's all that matters. So I just repeat that, and, you know, I can't really argue with that with
I
myself.
I think that is great, and that is gonna be so helpful for so many of us when we do have our creative blocks, or when we're sitting back and going, "What the hell is wrong with this painting? Why is this not coming together?" I love that, making bold moves.
And if I may, for me, when I'm in that moment, and it's like, why is this painting doing this? Like, what is not working? And other people may be like, oh, well, it looks finished to me, but it's not. There's something about honoring what the painting wants to be. I
Mm,
feel like you understand,
mm,
and that's part of the service element, right? Like we get that full body yes,
yeah,
that resonance when it's like it makes itself seen, and then you're like, oh, okay, I hear you, I see you. Now
right,
we're done. Now we're
yeah.
done.
Now
So
we
it feels like there is a co-creation um,
absolutely.
in that.
And sometimes it comes down to me going, "What do you want from me?
Yes, yes. We duke
Tell
it out.
me."
We duke it out with some of our paintings. Yeah, some
I
of them
know.
can be a real bitch,
I mean, I just
a
like I
real
call it,
stinker.
"Do I have to wrestle you to the ground? What is happening here?"
And those tend to be some of the most powerful
Oh,
pieces.
absolutely. Okay, so what is your question for our next guest?
Yeah. What is your relationship to your creative power?
Ooh, and so for the guest who's like, "What does that mean?"
Yeah.
Can you elaborate?
Sure. I mean, I guess I can speak to that in my relationship to my creative power. You know, it serves spirit. So it's grounded in service, but this creative energy is potent that we work with as artists. And we create from our sacral chakra,
Yeah,
which is where our sexual centers are located.
yeah.
So um, there's a sexuality to my creative energy. I mean, if we're going to get biblical for a minute,
Okay, wait, get just before we get biblical, let me just say, I was just talking with Amy, who is the producer of the podcast, and I was telling her I want to have a conversation about how sex and creativity coexist and
well,
how
let's talk about it.
one adds to the other. Anyway, so with the fact that you brought that up, let's talk about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
We may,
So
you know what? We may have to have you back on the other podcasts about the sex and creativity. For sure, we'll have to have you do that.
I'm here for it because I've had a sexual revolution throughout this creative journey as becoming an artist. I mean, it's they're so similar. The
So
energy
similar.
is so similar, and it was very unexpected, but it's been extremely empowering.
Yeah.
And there's also a sacredness in that, and then a self acceptance. I think that's the other aspect of my relationship to my creative power is an acceptance, because for so long I did not accept my art. So it was like I wasn't accepting a part of myself. And
Absolutely.
so then finally accepting my art and feeling proud of what I create has reflected that back, that self compassion and that self love to me. So that's another aspect of my relationship to my creative power,
Yeah.
right?
I love that. So when we ask the next artist, what is your relationship to your creative power? I can't wait to hear what they say, because
Me too.
um I don't think that, at least for me, I don't think I often associate I associate creativity as important, but I don't think I've ever thought of it like exactly what you're saying, like as a power. And
Right.
I think you're absolutely right. So
Hmm.
I think that's a great question. Thank you. And
Awesome. Yeah.
um, thank you, Miss Privet. This
Thank
has been
you.
an awesome conversation.
Yeah.
Tell our listeners where they can find you.
Yes. So you can find me on Instagram. I'm more Instagram heavy. So at Meribeth Privett. You can also find me on Facebook. Um, Meribethprivett.com is my website. And if you want to check out my coaching and energy medicine platform, that is soulalchemyenergy.com. Yeah.
soulalchemyenergy.com. And we will put all of this in the show notes because
Great.
we want people to be able to find you so easily. It's been such an honor and a pleasure to work
Jody,
with
this has
you.
been so great.
Well, I mean, I appreciate the conversation today, but I just want to tell you and the entire whole ass world that it's just been such a pleasure to know you and work with you. And it's just an honor for me. And so thanks for joining me today.
Likewise. Thank you, Jody.
You're welcome. Take care. Thanks for listening. And just a heads up, applications are now open for the next cohort of my high-touch mastermind experience for artists called Studio Elite. It's a 6-month program that begins in the middle of July. It's limited in size as I work closely with each artist because let's face it, every artist is unique. The program includes weekly group coaching, monthly training, one-on-one coaching, art critiques, and an incredible community of supportive artists. Plus, and this is the best part, an exclusive in-person retreat with me and my team to mastermind and grow your art biz. If you'd like to apply for the program or just to learn more, click the link in the show notes, and I'd love to see you there.